There is a solution to this, okay? And the solution is providing these people with adequate housing and job opportunities.
About altruism. If you are truly altruistic, this means that you dip into your own pocket to give people things, right? True altruism is when you are charitable with your own resources. It's a wonderful thing. You know what's a terrible attitude to have is when altruism actually amounts to, I'm going to put my hand in your pocket and I'm going to give your money away, and then I'm going to pat myself on the back for how altruistic I am. And unfortunately, an extraordinary amount of democratic policy, economic, environmental, foreign, enormous amounts of this policy are predicated on the idea that you are most altruistic when you are putting your hand in somebody else's pocket and then giving away their money, when you are taking somebody else's life.
Wait, what do you mean? Like what Governor Greg Abbott and Governor Ron DeSantis are doing, using state tax funds to literally do kidnapping, using state funds to kidnap and traffic migrants, including children? Yeah, I mean, that is fucked up.
And affecting their life in a way that makes you feel good. But it doesn't actually have any effect on you, but it makes you feel incredibly good because you are making Bob pay the bill. And let's face it, Bob deserves to pay the bill. You don't deserve to pay the bill. You're the good person. You're making Bob pay the bill. But so long as you are making Bob pay the bill, you owe no consequences. You don't have to actually be altruistic. You don't actually have to do anything. It's all up to you to make sure that somebody else does this thing. So much of left-wing policy is predicated on this very idea that the rules that you think should broadly apply to humanity and the consequences of which are not owned by you, those rules are good so long as you promulgate them. And then the minute you are clocked in the face by reality, the rules become really, really bad. This is true on tax policy. Democrats in blue states across the country will raise state taxes to extraordinary levels. And then they'll go to the federal government and they'll ask for state and local tax deductions. The idea being that you should be able to deduct your high taxes in the state of California, for example, against your federal income tax. Because after all, the other states should pay for the fact that you've decided to raise taxes in your state. When it comes to homelessness, homelessness is a human right until precisely the moment the tent cities arrive in Malibu. Environmental policy. Environmentalism is all wonderful and good, especially for people who live in areas where you don't. Meanwhile, you get to basically fly around in a private jet, right? Environmentalism is a luxury of the wealthy. And generally, the people who are most interested in environmentalism also have the largest carbon footprint, because they also happen to be the most wealthy.
I mean, that is true. People who are interested in environmentalism do have the largest carbon footprint, which is every American citizen, by the way. Because every American citizen is still firmly a part of the labor aristocracy and still benefits from the spoils of living in the imperial core. And therefore, most American citizens, let's say, I'm not talking about fucking indigenous people, obviously, who are at the forefront of environmental protections, and they don't actually have a sizable carbon footprint. But, there is that reality, but ultimately it doesn't fucking matter because people are still trying to reduce, not their consumption necessarily, but at least their output. And that is the normal thing to do. That is the adequate thing to do. That's the right thing to do, especially because the people who are experiencing the worst consequences of environmental disasters are those who have the lowest carbon footprint and have no microphone whatsoever, have no podium whatsoever, like literally virtually everyone living in fucking Pakistan right now, a nation that is entirely underwater from massive amounts of flooding with no water supply. 70% of their agricultural output is knocked out in its entirety. The fuck are those people supposed to do? Nothing. They got nothing. They're fucked.
And wealth goes along, in most cases, with a higher carbon footprint than people who are very, very poor. So this has now reared its head again with the issue of illegal immigration. The left, for my entire lifetime, has basically been soft on illegal immigration. They've suggested that illegal immigration, the free movement of people across America's southern border, and the ability of those people to then rely on the American welfare state, particularly on the state and local level, the ability of these folks to move across borders, to take jobs, to not pay their full share of taxes, to get free public education for their kids, to take advantage of the healthcare system, right? All of these things are a good. And to oppose this is to be cruel and nasty. Now, here's the thing. Most of the people who are pressing this sort of policy, particularly the elite levels of the Democratic Party, never actually have to deal with the consequences. They feel as though they are creating a new voter base. People are coming in and they're more dependent on government. They tend to be poorer than the average in the United States. They tend to be less educated on the average. in the United States, and thus they are more dependent on government largesse in the United States. And so the idea was bring this entire new group of people in, and these people are more likely to vote Democrat. That is how the demographics of California, for example, shifted from California being a red to purple state and now to a pure blue, deep blue, sea blue state. But here is the magic. In order to foment illegal immigration,
the way he talks about migrants is so chilling as if they're not literally the same exact fucking species as Ben. No, of course Ben doesn't see that. That's the whole point. He is hitting the great replacement theory, which is, of course, unironically a Nazi take, which is, of course, coming from an Orthodox Jewish man who, of course, parents also immigrated into this country. But hey, fuck you, he got his. You know what I mean? America is a sequence of like migrants that are coming in, a couple generations in, going, nah, fuck everyone else. And he also does not think that. He does literally not think that they are human beings, for the record.
What you really have to do is you have to suggest that border towns in Texas have to deal with it. And certainly not Barack Obama up in Martha's Vineyard. Certainly not Kamala Harris over at the Naval Observatory.
Here's the issue with what Ben is saying. I mean, other than everything, right? The idea that like undocumented migrants are exclusively a burden on states like Texas is so fucking stupid. You just talked about California, one of the wealthiest fucking states. Texas is as well. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You think California doesn't have a steady flow of migrants coming in? So how is California able to work through that, whereas Texas is not? It's a burden for Texas, but not for California. Is that what it is? Where do you think California is on the map? It just makes no sense. Like, his argument does not make any sense. Immigrants, including illegal immigrants, statistically boost the economy. That's legit Econ 101. I know. Libertarian, by the way, but no free travel libertarian, which is hilarious. The great replacement theory is also fucking insanely idiotic because it goes against what the GOP, what the Texas GOP is doing right now, which is finding a way to, make the Latino population there, which is Texas is historically at a huge Hispanic population, obviously, because of where it fucking is and what it fucking was as a state historically, Spanish and then Mexican territory. But again, Texas GOP is working on ways to, get the Hispanic population to vote for the Republican Party, which they are relatively successful on, partially because the Democrats absolutely suck. But again, that's why they always act like migrants are a monolithic force for evil. They're coming into the country to do crimes, or they're coming into the fucking country to steal your jobs or something, or they're coming into the country to like vote for the Democratic Party. I mean, here's one way that they would stop voting for the Democratic Party if the right wing was not cutting agitprop that demonized them. That's one quick way.
In Maryland, those people don't have to deal with it. Certainly not Eric Adams in New York City. The people, Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, those people don't have to deal with it because after all, the true altruism is making sure that the people down on the border in Texas who are saying, you know what, this is really screwing up our city. Those people are the bad guys. Greg Abbott is the bad one. Doug Ducey in Arizona, he's the bad one. The people along the border who say, this is creating real societal and cultural problems and economic problems and crime problems. Those people are they're intolerant. They're bigots. They're bad because we're altruists, right?
All my conservative parents think you ruined me because I'm not alt-right anymore. Well, sucks to suck for your parents.
They're bad. We are the altruists. And so there is something extraordinarily ironic about the hue and cry that is now coming from top-level Democrats over the move by border state Republicans, Ron DeSantis in Florida, which technically is not a border state, but there's a lot of illegal immigration into Florida, or Greg Abbott in Texas, who have now been saying to Democratic governors and Democratic mayors, guys, if you love illegal immigration so much, if you want to say that you are a sanctuary city without actually having to deal with the predominant force of illegal immigration, and guess what?
Again, like, California literally fucking changes the narrative. Like, why is he making it seem as though California does not have a lot of immigrants coming into California? Like, what do you mean? Is that not a border state? Is that not a state with a fucking border? I don't understand. Like, you brought up California. Why are you no longer talking about California? They're going to be hitting that fucking line so hard, dude. They realize that, like, the abortion issue is one that is getting them absolutely fucking cumstered in the polls. So they're trying to find a new one. They're trying to create a new issue. And because there is no, like, cohesive caravan that you can point to, you're just doing the whole, like, look, they're doing open borders. It's like, motherfucker, you're the one who's doing caravans. And this is an opportunity for the Democratic Party to say, dude, we have the capacity to take care of all these people, man. And these people we're not even taking care of them. We're just offering them like humane living conditions. And then they're taking care of us because immigrants are an overall net positive to the economy.
You asked for it, you got it. And so Greg Abbott and Governor DeSantis, they've now been sending illegal immigrants to deep blue areas where they support sanctuary cities and open illegal immigration and been saying, now we'll see how much you like it. We'll see how altruistic you are when your hand is in your own pocket and not ours. We'll see how kind and charitable you are with your own resources and how much you like illegal immigration when it actually affects you. We'll see how much you...
Why does Ben act like undocumented immigrants don't fucking exist in any of the states other than like border states? Or why does he also act like at the top of the hour, there is no 60-second ad break that's coming? I'm back, baby. I'm back.
You enjoy defund the police when the criminals are sitting right side your house. Right? We'll see how much you enjoy homelessness.
When the criminals, automatically every fucking undocumented migrant is a criminal. Dude, just say you're racist and move on, man. Holy fuck. This kind of propaganda is so stupid. It's like, yeah, dude, criminals. Remember yesterday when we saw the footage of the people coming off those buses, dude? Such criminals. That little kid, that fucking 7-year-old Venezuelan kid in the Marvel pajamas, dude. Typical criminal, dude. Typical criminal.
When again, there are people who are camped out in your front yard. We'll see how much you enjoy high tax rates when there is no state and local tax deduction. Making people own the consequences of their own political decision-making is a net positive. This is also true, by the way, intergenerationally. Democratic economic policy is predicated on the idea that you can steal from future generations and then you can use the money here. And this is not just true in the United States. This is true all over the world. The decline of Western economics is largely based on the fact that we have abandoned the sort of Burkean notion that you owe a debt to future generations, not the other way around. Right? They owe a debt to you in the sense that they are supposed to inherit a stable and decent system, but they are not supposed to pay your bills. So making people own the consequences of their decisions in the here and now is a very good way of forcing better policy. So I'm very much in favor of Ron DeSantis, for example, sending a couple of charter planes of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard.
But DeSantis has sent migrants on a plane to Martha's Vineyard. Now, this is where the Obamas have a home, Oprah, Beyonce.
Illegals arrive on Martha's Vineyard.
Even James Taylor, who's going to be seeing fire, rain, and migrants. Not to mention Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, everybody basically that you know on the left has a home there. Do you think they're going to be embracing their new neighbors?
You know, these are all sanctuary cities until they're in their sanctuary.
Right.
I doubt they'll embrace them. Don't know that I've ever been to Martha's Vineyard. I've been to places where we've seen these migrants come across. This is not good for America.
I mean, turns out, wait, what? This is not good for America. Thank God Ron DeSantis did this thing that's not good for America. It turns out they are doing that, though. They are helping them out. They've already been relocated. They've been found like temporary housing immediately, regardless of the fact that this was like kind of fucking thrown on everyone, which is not the appropriate way to do this. These people are not illegal immigrants, by the way. They're asylum seekers. This is literally legal. The fact that they're Venezuelan makes this extra funny because, once again, Venezuelans have temporary protected status up until 2024. Because America's attitude towards, the Maduro regime that they hate and despise. They literally want to use Venezuelan migrants as a political pawn, which is precisely the reason why. And Mike Pompeo should know this, by the way. And he does know this, but it doesn't fucking matter because he's a goddamn demon. But again, the irony is that they are Venezuelan, which means that they are quite literally not only legal asylum seekers, but extra legal asylum seekers. Like they're super legal. Anyway. Thanks, Ben. But yeah, you can definitely slander them, which people do all the fucking time because they're migrants. As in, they're not, they don't have any fucking protections whatsoever.
Every town's a border town, and we need to make sure we get our southern border secured exactly like we did for 4 years, Jesse.
Meanwhile, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, is doing something similar with regard to Kamala Harris.
Buses filled with migrants from our southern border have just arrived outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. Griff Jenkins is live on the scene to tell us more. Griff, is that Massachusetts Avenue that I'm looking at right there?
Yeah. Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian. This bus just arrived moments ago. I talked to some of the folks. Apparently, this bus has come from Del Rio, Texas.
Okay, so the typical response in the media is, this is horrible. How could they do this? So just to get this straight, when a bus filled with migrants arrives in Del Rio, Texas, that's a net good for the United States. That's a good thing because forcing Del Rio, Texas to take all those people in is great. Remember a few years ago when there was a migration crisis under President Obama, there's a
What a strange take. Yeah, it's good if you go through the proper channels and adequately inform people on the other side so that there is like immediate food and shelter available. Yeah. It's not good when you fucking send them to Kamala Harris's house and only inform Fox News so they can go over there and be like, no hablo español, abuela, is the border open? Like, you know, do that fucking broken Peggy Hill ass shit that they did there. Abierto, donde está la biblioteca?
A city in California called Murrieta, and there are a bunch of residents there who are saying, don't take these buses here. Like, we live here. We don't have the resources to take care of these people. They're just going to be sitting around in the bus station.
The only reason why this is fucking insane is because no one was informed. These people, when they come in through El Paso, have proper protocols to go through, which every single one of these fucking people had actually gone through. How conveniently is Ben Shapiro avoiding that fucking reality, by the way?
And we don't know who they are. We don't know their backgrounds. We don't know how to feed them. And the people of Murrieta were treated as though they were terrorists. Like, how dare these people not just, I mean, don't we have a statue? And on that statue, it says that we should take in our tired, our weary, our huddled masses yearning to be free. Right? Don't we have, I mean, the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of, okay, now, this has been a typical Democratic talking point for a very long time, but it turns out that the Statue of Liberty is in New York. Okay, fine. So if we send the migrants to New York, then presumably everything should be hunky-dory, right? If we send the illegal immigration wave that has been fostered by this administration, we're talking in excess of 1.3 million illegal immigrants have entered the country since Joe Biden took office. And that is not counting the gotaways, which could be up to another million. And when you have that many people who are arriving and they are swamping border towns, those towns don't have the resources for them. So why not send them? I mean, income inequality, guys. Equity. Why not?
I have literally no problem with taking migrants, legal asylum seekers, and relocating them to greener pastures. There is no issue with that whatsoever, as long as people are adequately informed ahead of time. These are people who are already going through the legal process. It doesn't even fucking matter. The legality in the situation is something that you can offer to every single migrant that's coming through the American borders. It's just that Americans do not want to do that. Many asylum seekers themselves would most likely take up that opportunity because opportunity is what they are looking for. Part of the reason why they want to stay in places like Texas and Florida is because they have a better chance of getting work and have a support system because they already have family members there. Why would you rip them away from that if they can become more valuable contributing members to society in places like that? It's not like these places do not need the extra help. They certainly do.
Why not send them to the richest enclaves in America, places like Martha's Vineyard? Why not send them to Malibu? Why not have them camp out outside Barbara Streisand's house? After all, if you're in favor of these policies, you should own the policies, should you not? You should be the person who's willing to pay for those policies, should you not? You shouldn't be foisting them on the people who are unfortunate enough to live at the border that you have decided to leave wide open in complete defiance of basic governmental duty.
At this stage, it kind of doesn't matter what is actually happening on the ground because Republicans can put a spin on it no matter what.